Hey, so today we're going to discuss after the war. We already know that Germany surrendered and there was victory in Europe, and we already know that Japan surrendered after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So now we're going to talk about the aftermath of the war. We're really going to focus in on the aftermath in Europe and what became known as the Holocaust. Um, as you all know, the Holocaust, which is a key vocabulary term, is the name given to the human rights violations conducted by the Nazis in Germany and all of the areas of Europe that they controlled. This was all the idea of Adolf Hitler, leading to ultimately being one of the most catastrophic genocides or attempt to exterminate an ethnic group, another key vocabulary term, in all of history. This is something that we talk about a lot because it's the idea that we never want this to repeat itself. This is something that started off very small by just identifying who the Jewish population was, identifying those who were not 100% German. This was this idea of Adolf Hitler that the German race was the best race and the most ideal race. With that being said, they were forced to wear, they were first, it started off because they were forced to wear Star of David's on themselves to essentially identify that they were Jewish. That way, they could be discriminated against, whether it be businesses, banks, restaurants, anything. That way, they could be discriminated against by those who believed that they were superior and followed the German philosophy. With that being said, they were transported into ghettos, as you can see. Young women or young children were forced to abide by these rules, in which they were forced, obviously, as you can see, it's not very pleasant how they were forced to go to the ghettos. They were taken out of their homes. Most importantly, during the night of broken glass, that's when all of these Jewish homes were ransacked and the Jewish people were forced to live in ghettos, which is a small confined area. Ultimately, when the war started, this is something that, again, you can look away when people are forced to have to leave their homes. You can kind of look away when you hear about them being forced into trains. But what you cannot look away from is the fact that they were forced to go to concentration camps. They were packed in cattle carts, and obviously, because they were meant to transport cattle, packed in cattle carts on train and sent to concentration camps, as you can see this photo down here. In these concentration camps, they worked as laborers. Once they were deemed as unfit or too weak, we all know that they were exterminated against. There was overall in Europe, there was about 6 million, if not more, Jewish people, as well as Slavs, gypsies, or anyone that was not deemed as 100% German, was executed. Unfortunately, this did not come about until, the United States really 100% did not realize how bad this was until after Germany surrendered in Victory in Europe Day. The reason being is because Germany tried to hide this. They knew how bad it was. Number two, when they were liberating the camps, Germany tried to destroy any evidence of this, and again trying to hide that this ever happened. It was one of the main purposes, or one of the main reasons why we have photos of this, was President Eisenhower, or actually at the time he was Commander Eisenhower, thought that it was essential to ensure that people knew what was happening. But like I said, no one really knew how bad this was until they were liberating these concentration camps. And like this memorial in Berlin, as you see, remember, it started off small, it was something that you can turn away. But once they started liberating these concentration camps, they realized that it was too big and that it was so massive that they could no longer look away, and that it engulfed, basically, when we talk about World War II, now we talk about the Holocaust as well.